have a roll call.
Director Harris is absent. Director Hallbish.
Here.
Director Brewer.
Here.
Director Jewell.
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hart.
Here.
Director Roberts.
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here. This time we'll stand for our invocation, be by Assistant Mayor Jeff Hart. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be by our Acting City Manager, Tyler Richards.
Mayor, I'm going to have Pastor Owens come up and lead us tonight.
Okay.
Let us bow. Father, here we are again gathered together. We thank you for the opportunity, oh God, to do business for our city, to take care of the things that are concerns, oh God, and do those best things for our city. We thank you for these board members, oh God. Give them your wisdom on tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Just a couple of housekeeping duties. If you have your cell phone with you, we would appreciate if you would silence your cell phone during the course of the meeting. If you wish to address the board tonight, there's a citizens communication card on the ledge. If you would complete that and get that to our city clerk, she can get that to me to recognize you. Right now, the first citizen that I have, I take them in the order they give them to me, is Chris Owens, Community Cleanup.
Mr. Mayor, board members, I'm Chris Owens. I reside at 3614 Garland Avenue, and I have a thing about trash. I clean up in front of my community at least 3 times a month. And what we did last year is we did a community cleanup. Well, we did a community cleanup without you guys being aware. Some of you did know, but not everybody. So we wanted to make sure that we did not leave you guys out in knowing that we're going to do a community cleanup. What we're looking for is that the community work together with leaders, pastors, whoever, school district, our youth, so that they can know how to keep our communities clean. And so what we want to do is we want to push it, and it would be really great if our community directors would be a leader of their ward, because every ward will have cleanup in each ward. We've gotten the maps of the ward so that we can kind of see. Last year, Mr. Tyler was instrumental in helping us to find areas for pickup through the code enforcement group, because they were already out, in the areas. And we also drove and we found some places. There are some places that are super duper clean, but there are so many that are not. And so we have a plan, that how it goes. And again, we hosted last year at the Mount Grove Baptist Church, and it went wonderful. We had about 70 volunteers, but this year we want to have about 150. And we certainly want our officials to be involved in any way that you possibly can. If you just have to push getting volunteers, it is going to be the hosting center is going to be the rec center this year. And so we want everybody that can be involved. If you got people that's in your community, in your ward rather, that that'll be willing to be helpful in this event, please share with them so we can work together. We had great donations last year. We expect to get the same kind this year so that we can make an impact for this cleanup. Any questions of me?
The first meeting, was this the one when the storm came through and we had to cancel? Was this what this?
No, yes, the first meeting was it.
Okay,
Then we
I got you.
rescheduled, and now we have 2 more, one's next Monday, and then we have one the week of the thing, so we can make sure we have all the Ts crossed and the Is dotted.
Thank you for all you do.
Absolutely, thank you.
Linwood, I believe it's Huckins.
Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Linwood Huckins. I live at 509 John Street. I moved in there in 2017, and right at the corner of John Street, and I seem to have a hard time with the number, but it's Division and John Street, and I'm pretty sure you're all aware of this house. There's been no water, no lights, no nothing. There's people that are living in it right now that have 4 dogs. I have 3 licensed dogs. My understanding in the city, you're only supposed to have 3 dogs, but that's here nor there. There's 4 dogs. There's no power, no water. Right now, as I came to this meeting, he's burning again today. There's a burn barrel burning right now. I have video of it. It's been burning all day. I've asked him nicely. I've called the fire department. I've called the police department. I've done everything I can do. The last time that the guys came up through from the town, there was another guy in the truck, and they told me that by the end of July, that it was supposed to go up for tax sale, and nobody be in it till August 1st. So I said to him, I give you till August 1st because I've had enough. Over 4th of July weekend, fire department's here. They must have record of it. I don't know what blew up in that pile, but we started out with one pile in the back of a house that's not even on their property. Now we have two big piles, and I had a video of a truck pulling in there, dumping brush, and 3 police officers right there looking at my video. Let them drive away. Enough is enough. I mean, they're burning right now. They keep coming back and adding to the pile, and all he does is burn it off. Again, no water, no electricity, no nothing. I'm not understanding how, especially where it is, how these people can just continually get away with this. It's not acceptable. And I don't know where to go. So here's where I came. I spoke to Mr. Harris a few days ago about it. We also have a situation with the potholes, and he reassured me that the road's going to get done. I was told the other day by one of the ladies that drives the postal truck, she's not going to deliver mail to my house. I have videos of that. I mean, there's big ruts. And the guys came to fix the road the other day. He sure fixed it. He stomped it all down and made a big hole and just drove away and left it. So, I'm here to express my opinion. I like living over there. I understand the situation. It's Ward 2. But I think something, finally, considering I have video, I have pictures from back in 2017, all the way up until tonight when I drove here, of that burning barrel burning right now and burning wire. I would ask that this council and the city of Texarkana please do something finally about it. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Anyone else wish to address the board? Anyone else?
I guess I'll address his concern. I did stated to him that Drone Street was agreed to be done at the last board meeting. It's supposed to be resurfaced from the railroad track all the way up to your house to Bramble Street. If you go back and look, talk to you, if you want to come back up here, if you don't mind. Okay. I said, I restate that again. I told you that Drone Street was scheduled to be done. Now, we approved it at the last board meeting to be resurfaced from the railroad track up to your house to Bramble Street. Now, if it get done this year, I don't know, but you got to talk to that's the city manager over there and public works guy. He would know when exactly that be done. Now, your other issues is best, well, I don't think I really need to say anything about that in public, but I would think that you would probably want to meet with I get with the chief, with the current, well, I told you about how we're going to take that situation. I told you the best is to try to get with, and I see he's here tonight at this board meeting. I guess after the meeting or during, before you leave, go over there and have a conversation with him, Mr. Ed Chadwick, and he may can help you solve that issue with that. And also, tax sale is tomorrow at the convention center for houses and
Is that one listed?
I don't know, but tax sale is tomorrow at the convention center. I think at 9 o'clock. The Arkansas State Land Commission is having a tax sale for Miller County property.
Because I looked into that, because, when I had talked to you, we own another little piece, and I wanted to buy the rest of that.
Yeah.
But when I found out that the line is 18 inches from that house,
Okay.
and I explained to you the other people, I gave them fence and everything, helped it, but no, if I could buy that house, it'd be a different story.
Okay. But like I said,
Tomorrow?
I don't know if that house is on there, but the tax sale at the convention center, Arkansas on the Arkansas side at the convention center. I
The
think
Holiday
it's
Inn
10 o'clock.
Express.
Yeah, I believe, just say 9 o'clock. I'm thinking it's 10.
It's
but-
10.
But go, be there at 9, because you got to sign up and all the other things you got to do. I would say go there around about 9:30. So,
Thank you.
you work.
Anybody else wish to address the board? If not, we'll have Tyler, we're going to recognize some employees for our service awards. They'll be presented by our acting city manager, Tyler Richards. We have several tonight. I'm told that 2 are not here. We have Mr. Robert Catton Jr., works for the Bi-State for 5 years, and Jana Dial with TAPD for 15 years. Y'all can give them a round of applause. Present tonight, we have Ms. Rachel Hopkins with Finance, 5 years. Michael Bryan, TAPD, 10 years. Brett Suggs, Fire Department, for 5 years. And last but not least, Jeff Tanner, Fire Department, 30 years. Thank you all for your service. Moving right on, we'll go into our consent agenda tonight. We have 2 items on our consent agenda. Item number 2 is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, July 15th. Item number 3 is to adopt a resolution to appoint Tyler Richards to the Employee Retirement Systems Committee. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second. So I have a motion and a second to adopt. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and the consent agenda passes. We'll move right into our regular agenda tonight. We have several items on our regular agenda. Item number 4 is...
Mayor,
Yes.
I would suggest that we move the order, moving to the front of the order, or I would say moving to the end of the order, 4, 5, and 6. I
And
would
for what
anticipate
purpose?
those to be,
I think most of the people here are here to hear the airport.
yes. And
Why
so
wouldn't we get
this
that
would
out of the
relieve,
way?
this would relieve those people the opportunity to go home if those,
How many people do we hear that's not associated with the airport for an item besides Jamie? Planning Commission, your plat? Oh, the majority of the people here for the airport, so. Anybody want to move the agenda?
I say move it. Let Colin get his thing approved and let him get out of here and we can all have a discussion.
So with no objections, we will move to, 4, 5, and 6. We will move to item number 7, which is to adopt an ordinance to rezone a property located at 6103 Mount Olive Drive from C4 Crossroads Business Park to a planned unit development for the purpose of constructing McDonald Heights subdivision consisting of 5 single homes. Jamie? Yes, sir.
Did we vote to move it, or you just moved it?
Is a vote necessary to move that?
It's not, okay.
Okay, this is the piece of property that I believe the last month we were looking at putting townhomes on it, and now that plan has been changed. That was denied, and we are now looking at 5 single-family homes. It's the property on the corner of Mount Olive and McDonald Drive right here. Got no pointer. Jenny, can you? There we go. You can just advance it.
Oh, yeah.
It's Zone C4 right now. It's part of the Crossroads Business Park. You can see everything around it zoned R2. And there's that little, again, barbecue place there. There's utilities, there's water and sewer on Mount Olive. They will have to extend the water across the back of the property. And so this will be a plat that'll be signed off on by the Planning Commission. And this is the plat layout. There's 5 single-family homes right now. We've had no opposition to this layout, and Colin is here.
Any questions for Jamie?
Yes,
Thanks, Colin.
I have a question.
Yes.
What changed from his last presentation to this?
The last presentation was for 12 townhomes that were going to be rentals,
right.
and the neighborhood was opposed to that. These are 5 single-family homes
Single-family.
that will be sold.
All right.
Yeah, we're not,
Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you,
The big change is no opposition.
yeah,
yes.
we're not opposed.
thanks.
Any other questions? If not, I remind the board, this is an ordinance to pass. It would need to be read 3 times tonight. The applicant has also requested an emergency clause. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to have it read on its first reading, abbreviated form. Any other questions? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes,
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number K 286 as amended for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance been read on its first reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its second reading tonight?
second reading.
Abbreviated form.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to have it read on its second reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes,
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number K 286 as amended for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its third and final reading?
third and final reading, abbreviated form, please.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its third and final reading. Any other discussion? Would you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes,
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number K 286 as amended for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against? Hearing and seeing none, could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
yes,
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. And the ordinance passes. What would be the desire of the board to attach emergency clause?
Motion to attach.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to attach an emergency clause. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
yes,
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes, an emergency clause is attached. Moving on to item number 8 is to adopt an ordinance to amend ordinance number L61 to strike the last sentence under the definition of mobile home park. Jamie.
So under our definition of mobile home park, and so we understand a mobile home park is for trailers that were built before 1975. The new ones are manufactured homes. We only have one mobile home park still in Texarkana, Shady Acres. And in our definition of mobile home park, there is an allowance for 25% of the mobile home park may be travel trailer accommodations. In another section of our ordinance, we state that you cannot occupy either temporarily or permanently a travel trailer unless it's in a travel trailer park, which is like an RV park, not a mobile home park. It's the desire of the Planning Commission and code enforcement that we do not allow living in a travel trailer inside the city limits. And Roger here, if you have any questions, Roger's here, happy to answer them, or I will.
Anybody have any questions?
Has there been a lot of problems with that? Because I know I've caught a couple times where people have them parked in the street, living in them.
Yes, we do get people that do it from time to time. We have to go out and talk to them and tell them they can't do that in the city limits. This is the only place in the code that we have something that contradicts itself,
Okay.
that we found lately. I mean, we do have it from time to time. But in ordinance 2870, it says you cannot live in a mobile home, a travel trailer in the city limits. But that one part in that old mobile home park definition contradicts that. So we'd like to do away with that.
Any other questions?
Well, I have just an in general question. It's located in my ward, and I can tell you, bless y'all's hearts. Y'all have been out there and been out there and been out there. If someone, just for instance, if someone says that I'm remodeling my house and I want to live in this until I get it done, is that permitted?
No,
Period.
no, because they don't get the house remodeled and they keep living in it. And we have ordinances that says you can't live in a travel
Yeah,
trailer in the
I
city
had a
limits.
phone call today that they were remodeling one, and they wanted to move in it. And I said, oh, no. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I remind the board, this is an ordinance. To pass tonight, it would need to be read 3 times. What would be the desire of the board to have it read in its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to have it read on its first reading in abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number L61 and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its second reading?
Second reading, abbreviated form, please.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its second reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number L61 and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its third and final reading?
Third reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number L61 and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here that wishes to speak for or against? Seeing and hearing none, could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes, the ordinance is adopted. Moving on to item number 9 is to adopt an ordinance to add limited mixed-use rule zone to the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances, Section 2811, zoning districts established.
This
Jane?
is just housekeeping. When we created the A1 zone, it was overlooked and it was never added to this matrix that lists all of our zones. So all we're doing is adding it down here at the very bottom.
Easy enough.
Any other discussion? I'll remind the board, this is an ordinance. To pass, it would need to be read 3 times tonight. What would be the desire to have it read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
So a motion and a second to have it read on its first reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending Section 28-11 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances to add A1 Limited Mixed-Use Rural Zoning District and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its second reading?
Second reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its second reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending Section 28-11 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances to add A1 Limited Mixed-Use Rural Zoning District and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its third and final reading?
Third and final reading, abbreviated form, please.
Second.
Ordinance, motion and a second to have it read on its third and final reading. Y'all going too fast for me. Any other discussion? Would you call a roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending Section 28-11 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances to add A1 Limited Mixed Use Rural Zoning District and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here to speak for or against? Seeing and hearing none, could you call a roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. An ordinance is adopted. Moving on to item number 10, to adopt an ordinance to add rezoning fee of limited mixed-use rural zone of $100 to the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances, Section 28-129 fees.
This is housekeeping too. This was something that was overlooked when we added the A1 zone. We did add a $100 fee to rezone to that, and it never got added to this part of the ordinance. So we're just doing that.
Any other discussion? Dr. Harris?
Y'all been charging?
Yes, we have been charging it.
Any other discussion? Remind the board, this is an ordinance. To pass tonight, it would need to be read 3 times. What would be the desire to have it read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to have it read on its first reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending Section 28-129 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances to add a $100 rezoning fee for the A1 Limited Mixed Use Rural Zoning District and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire to have the ordinance read on its second?
Second reading, abbreviated form, please.
Second.
So have a motion and a second for second reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending Section 28-129 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances to add a $100 rezoning fee for the A1 Limited Mixed Use Rural Zoning District and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its third and final reading?
Third reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to have it read on its third reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance amending Section 28-129 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances to add a $100 rezoning fee for the A1 Limited Mixed Use Rural Zoning District and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against? Hearing and seeing none, could you call a roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes, and the ordinance is adopted.
Thank you.
We'll move back now to item number 4 of our regular agenda, which is to adopt a resolution to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the City of Texarkana, Texas and Texarkana Regional Airport to apply for a loan from the Arkansas Energy Office for solar-covered parking. Paul? It is a lease agreement now. They changed the agenda on me.
Good evening, all. Thank you very much for having me here. I want to lead off by saying that I appreciate you guys working with us. We are here tonight to request your assistance because I made a mistake. And we've been going through a long process in order to try to reduce the overall costs of operating the new terminal building. As part of that, we looked at putting in a covered solar canopy over the long-term parking. And we had been approached by the state of Arkansas about a loan that was a 0.4% interest loan that allows to pay back the structure over a 15-year period. In the last week of June, right before we were to open the terminal building, we received a letter from the state indicating that the airport was not an eligible entity based off of the description in the law. And this left us with a situation where now we were going to need to find a mechanism for funding the finishing out of that project. It was through this process that we realized that I'd erred. I should have brought the loan request back in December to the two cities for consideration, because that would obligate the cities for a 15-year period. At the time, it was overlooked because we were moving a line item from the electrical into essentially debt service. But that was my error, and so we are now in a situation because of my actions. We worked with some of the state representatives to see what we could do to try to see if we could gain eligibility. Tyler has very graciously worked with us about an option where the city, as an eligible entity, would be able to enter into this 0.4% loan and would basically bill us for the payments for it. I've brought with me Mr. Ira Nicodemus to answer any technical questions that you may have about the solar system, and then I open it up to any questions from the council.
Paul, first of all, I would just like to say that I have a lot of concerns, as most people might figure out. I have a lot of concerns with the process that I want to visit with and talk to you about for a few minutes. But I also want to say that there are three very important items on our agenda tonight that pertain to the airport. It's something that I feel like that is some action that the city needs to take. It's something that I plan on voting yes for on all three items, not without reservation, and speaking my piece about the process and how this went through. And so one of the main reasons that I feel like it's important that this board support these actions tonight, including the solar panel thing, is there's a lot of us, and there's several in this room that have been working tirelessly over the last several months and years, as you know, to secure funding for the airport. Secure some big-time funding for the airport for not only the runway, but for other projects at the airport, which above all, as we know, will help increase the revenue of the airport, which is what we need. And I think failure to do that tonight is not going to send the right message, specifically to our state representatives, to our congressional representatives, and us trying to secure this funding, that these projects will not be possible, in my opinion, without that funding. It won't happen. And without that happening, certainly the revenue of the airport will decline. So I think it's very important that we understand that this money is on the cusp of being obtained by the airport, and I think it would be very negative for this board to send the wrong message that, you know, we don't support the airport, we can't do this. One of the things that I hate to say it, but back in 19 and 20, when I first became mayor, I discussed the airport openly at several meetings about my concern for where I felt like the airport was going, how fast the airport was moving, and where it was going to place our city. I know that you have not necessarily on purpose made some negative comments about this, our side of town, basically because of funding. It was listed as a threat in the overall comprehensive plan that our lack of funding could be a threat for the future of the airport. And that's not true, because we're going to pay our debt to the airport. And our problem is that it is a larger priority for us than it is for the Texas side, meaning that we don't have the sales tax revenue they have. We don't have the income coming in that they have. So we have some issues. So this is going to be a lot larger of a pill to swallow, not only through the additional funding of this loan, but also through the additional funding of the deficit that's approaching. I predicted in 2020 that in 2025 we would have over $1 million deficit, and we're here because I knew that that's just the nature of business and how it's coming when you move into a new project. So our city is pretty well off financially and taking care of the needs of what we have, but we just prioritize a little bit different. One of the things that I'm disappointed in when I look at this process that I'm going to talk to you about is the overall process on how this occurred. And it's lack of oversight, in my opinion, from all these. I see half of the airport authority member out there and you as the director because I'm more of a detailed person. I like to get into it, and I do have a finance background, and I like to understand what the city is getting into and how we're doing this. And when I look at all the things that have transpired in the airport, one, there was lack of oversight, not only when I became mayor, in my opinion, but prior to that, and we redid an ordinance. We redid an ordinance that I feel like all of the airport authority members and yourself need to revisit, because that ordinance that was redone in 2021 was not only done by the Arkansas side, it was actually done by the Texas side as well. And I wanted to take an opportunity for a second and just let you know a couple of things that you've already alluded to. Within that ordinance, it says, except upon joint approval of the city's governing bodies, no contract obligation shall be entered into by the authority for a term greater than 5 years, nor shall any contract obligation be entered into or the expense incurred by the authority at any amount that exceeds the amount budgeted for the same authority as budget approved by the cities. It goes on to say that the expense planning, development, the policing of the airport and excess funds of the authority shall be the responsibilities of the municipalities only if approved pursuant to 638. It says in here that at any time the authority anticipates a deficit in excess of the approved budget, the authority shall appear before the city's governing bodies and ask for joint approval for that deficit. We've had one financial report from the city, in my opinion, that I recall just recently, a few months ago. The other thing is I learned through the grapevine at some point in time, the airport financial statements were placed on the consent agenda. And I think that's unnecessary. I think if you're an authority member and if you're a citizen of this city, you ought to be concerned more about the finances of the city and the airport, knowing what a financial burden that thing is going to be on both of our side of town, that we would discuss those openly, but evidently for several months, those have been on the consent agenda. I would ask that those be removed if they hadn't already. But it also says in here that no airport, air navigation facility, airport hazard, real or personal property, non-operating expense in excess of income, the cost of which is in excess of the sum fixed by the authority's budget as approved by the cities, may be acquired by the authority. You do not have that authority without joint approval of these cities. So that is one of the other reasons that I say that I have an issue with this. We didn't follow process. You wouldn't be standing here in front of us today asking us to do this, admittingly, and I appreciate you stating that you made a mistake. It's a $2.2 million mistake, but I understand where we're coming from and what we're trying to do, and I'll get into that in just a second. But I want to walk you through the process, too, of my thinking and where I think that this happened, too, because this, to me, was not handled appropriately when I got the documentation. That was how the authority approved this. And when I looked at the minutes from February of 23, it basically says this initiated, as you've alluded to tonight, in a change order with Nabholz associated with dirt work. And the change order was $6.3 million to round terms. And you also stated in there that you will approach, the word in the minutes says approach the state for a loan for the solar panels for $2 million. To me, that's kind of like a little line in the minutes, a little something that we put in front of the authority for $2 million that we were going to get a loan. And to me, surely somebody on authority, it would have triggered somebody, we got to go borrow $2 million. That would be in excess of what our original amount was. And to me, that is not approval. Something for $2 million and inserted in those meetings, I don't see that that is what I would classify as trying to get approval for a $2 million loan. Whether the airport authority voted on it separately or not, that would have at least been, in my opinion, more transparent, that we would have understood what it was. And then I went to the November minutes, and it says that Integrity did get a report to finalize the cost of the project, third-party reviewed and concurred that the project will have a good return on investment. State funding mechanism requires that their agreement be directly with the airport instead of under Nabholz. The amount was previously approved. And I would contradict that technically I would say that that amount was not approved. It should have had more attention drawn to it, in my opinion, and maybe we could have caught it earlier that we didn't have the ability to do it. So as I got into the process of that is, to me, is just not being transparent, in my opinion, and not how things should have happened. We should have really caught this in the beginning because, one, the authority acts on behalf of both of the cities, and we don't have the authority, you guys don't have the authority to spend money that we don't already have that wasn't included in there. And I hope that we make that clear going forward, and I hope that each authority member at least read the ordinance that we're bound by from both sides of the state line to try to make sure that we're more transparent than that. Then I get into the solar project, and we have an expert here. I have at least just a few questions in wrapping up about the solar project. One would be, I think the numbers are very skewed, in my opinion, when I try to look at and try to understand it, that I don't think the savings that we really think we're realizing are going to be there. The second thing is that study, the study was based on $13 raising covered parking. We're already down to $12, so there goes a third of your money right there. So don't know where in the process that we decided to go to $12 when the study was based on 13. I charged 15 or 20, which brings up another question. We're not charging nothing now because we don't have any gates. So we've just got all kinds of things that are rolling through. And I have had more calls from citizens over the last few days since those articles have been published in the paper about concern about probably some of the same concerns that I've had for quite some time. But I would think that part of the study is already skewed because we're not going to make us realize as much income as what we thought we were, based on the 50-some-odd parking spaces. The second thing is where does the down payment come involved? Maybe he can answer that, maybe you can answer that, but there's a down payment involved on this loan, and it's this energy credit. In the study, the credit was $500-something thousand. In the actual agreement, it's $728,000 because there was no funding. And I'm told we're not going to get this money maybe to the spring. So how is this going to work? And my next question is how in the world did this company install all these things at the airport and nobody has been paid?
Yeah.
2-point-something million bucks, they're already installed, right? The majority of them?
Yes, sir.
And nobody's been paid a penny?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm just asking. So where does that tax credit come in? When will you get it? Do we have to fund that down payment up front and get it back when the tax credits arrive? That's one of my big questions.
So my name is Ira Nicodemus. I was the third-party reviewer, the president of Holistic Utility Solutions, which is my own company, as an independent owner's representative, work with different municipalities and things like this. So I'll start with the question about the tax credit. The federal government in August of 2022 passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which expanded tax credits for renewable power. At the time, the Department of Energy had a map which showed where there was a bonus community or a bonus credit for energy communities. Up until June of this year, the airport wasn't in one of those areas, so it was only eligible for the base credit. About 2 months ago, the Department of Energy revised the map, and a lot of text was added to that, what they call energy communities, which is why the tax credit increased. So that's good news in the sense that the project cost hasn't changed, but the net amount has decreased since the original study was done.
And when do we get it?
So the tax credits, I know when we talk about tax credits with a tax-exempt entity, it seems a little counterintuitive. So they still need to be filed for, but what they do is they will pay direct to the owner. In this case, I guess it will be the city, assuming we move forward with tonight's action. So that'll happen in spring next year. So essentially when you file taxes during tax season through the spring, this form gets filed, they review everything, and then assuming everything was done correctly, which is part of what we're reviewing as we go through the process, they'll pay that as a direct payment back.
So this company is going to get all their money up front, so we are going to pay the $758 up front with the loan proceeds from some source?
So the way we have it set right now, the original plan was that so the project cost is about the $2.2 million, the round numbers, correct? The original incentive was the $528, I believe. So the original loan from the state was only ever going to be the net of that, which is about 1.7. Now that that's increased, we're saying, well, let's go ahead and revise that down, which would decrease the loan amount. So the difference between that, and I'll let Paul speak to this, but my understanding is that that would essentially be covered through cash reserves until it's refunded.
Our line of credit.
Another $700,000.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So, and then as we get these tax credits, then paying that back. So we're going to use the line of credit, or we're going to have to borrow the more money? How do you
We
plan on
would
paying
use
for
the
that?
line of credit.
We'll use the line of credit, all right? A couple of other things in this. Explain to me why, when you're financing something, why are we leasing something? I can't wrap my head around, why are we calling this a lease agreement when we're paying for this?
Yeah.
You know,
So the lease, think of the lease as, that's the arrangement between the city and the airport authority. So what happened is, the originally the state energy office had said that they have this program, they were working in lockstep, going through Integrity, who's the contractor, is one of the state's approved providers on that list. So all of that was going through with the understanding that the airport, as an airport authority, could enter into the contract through the performance contracting legislation for Arkansas. That was everyone's understanding up until here recently, when they said the issue was that. So the lease is simply saying that the only way we can access the low-interest loan that the state energy office has is it has to be through an entity that's eligible, which includes
understand that.
municipalities.
I
So
still don't understand what we're leasing.
so essentially what we're saying is that the city will own the asset and then lease it back to the airport authority. So that's simply between the two, essentially. It's like a form of agreement. The way we set it up is the easiest way to think of it would be as a lease, which is why we drafted the language that way.
So a couple of more things. One, I don't know, have you got a copy of the leasing rights, a copy of this agreement with you, or?
I don't have it printed.
So one of the first things I noticed right off the bat is under 14, it says leasing shall, because I want to make sure that we're all covered and that we have proper insurance coverage and all this, because it says that we're responsible for insuring these things. And it says under 14A that the leasee shall maintain insurance on a system with leaseor, and the city of Texarkana, Texas, listed as a name insurance, shall cover the full value of the system. Where are we? Why aren't we covered in there?
With lessor.
Yeah, you're the lessor.
Why
As a
aren't we
lessor.
listed if we are? We just understood that we are? Or-
No, and this is something we definitely can edit, because it wasn't the intent at all to exclude. But I believe earlier in the document, it just makes the blanket statement that the Texarkana, Arkansas is the lessor, with the airport authority being the lessee. So it was covered under as lessor, and then really it was the addition of saying that the Texarkana, Texas as well, since they wouldn't be they wouldn't be the lessor.
Yeah, while we're on insurance, also on 18B, looks like we're double covering there. We're requiring the lessor, which is the cities, to have insure, and also the lessee having insurance. We're double covering. I mean, why not simply having the lessee, the airport, provide insurance with listing the cities as being co-insured? I mean, why are we doubly, why are y'all requiring double insurance? I mean, the two insurance companies are not going to pay the
I
double
think
amount.
this specifically covers the panels. So am I not correct that this particular insurance is just for the solar panels, right, Paul?
Yes, we would be
If
covering.
they were to fall on somebody or
Right. The
get
airport
damaged by
wants to
some
make
type
sure
of-
that we have the liability for any.
We have
damage.
liability insurance coverage at the airport
Yes.
that might cover something if
Well,
we
this
had
is
an accident
system
with the solar
and
panels. or
facility
something.
damage. But either way, we're requiring double insurance, and you're not going to get double coverage. It's just, if we're going to be paying a premium, the cities, and y'all going to be paying a premium, and we're only going to be getting the benefit of one policy. Because I was in the insurance business. Insurance company A is not going to pay the limits of $1 million, and insurance company B is not going to pay $1 million. You're going to have a joint, maybe each one will pay $500,000, but you're not going to get $2 million. But yet, two entities are going to pay a premium for $2 million policy. There's no need for that
Danny, I think
provision to be there. This just is a co-insured on y'all's coverage,
Yes,
the airport.
I think on 14, it's listed as lessee's rights and obligations. 14 says we have to have insurance. 18 explains to what extent we have to have insurance. I think that's how I read that.
Yeah, I think the intent, and again, I'll apologize if there's if there's inconsistencies with this document, because we drafted it kind of custom to the situation. But I think the intent was that, similar to, a landlord owning a rental home, they'll have their own, but then the tenant may also have renter's insurance. So I think the reason it's both is not to be trying to have it for both, but simply to say that there's the insured as the owner, but the intent has always been that the cost of that would be carried by the airport, as it originally would have been.
The whole purpose is to get this to where we can get the loan.
Correct.
So we can qualify.
Correct.
Well, those paragraphs read exactly the same.
And that would be for something, I guess, the city attorney could read and see if we're double covered and if we could cut some expense or something on that.
Correct.
To
Yes,
get
and I have
him,
some questions
to let
also.
Josh and him do it. But talk to me for just a second about maintenance. I see in here that we're required to maintain these things. And the annual maintenance on them, where is that going to be covered in the budget? Because I'm assuming, and who is qualified to work on solar panels or whatever?
So from what I understand, the preventative maintenance is essentially just taking care of the lights, and that we have to pressure wash it occasionally. There may be, like a hailstorm, they're supposed to be hail rated, but if one of them were damaged or something, we may have to third-party contract out an electrician to swap a panel. But our staff would otherwise do all of the preventative maintenance and light maintenance as necessary.
So right now, where we stand, what's your best projection or where we're going to end 2024 with what we had budgeted? Because I'm assuming we've got to move on this loan so that we're going to have 1 or 2 or 3 of these loan payments. Plus, we've got to cover $758,000 worth of a down payment on this loan. Where are we going to stand with our 2024 budget versus what we projected? Because none of this was included in the 2024. And we're going to be at a larger deficit, I would guess.
That's right.
I mean, our
So-
projected deficit was 6-something.
For the down payment itself, that would be through capital. However, for the loan payments themselves, I'll have to look at the O&M cost of where we would do. We would essentially have to, if necessary, cut certain items to make those payments.
How soon, once the Texas side, I'm assuming, is going to take this up at their next meeting, how soon would you get these proceeds? Do you have any idea?
That I do not know.
So I know that there'll be some questions about the savings calculations, but I think that with some of the questions around the net cost, there is obviously the reduction in the utility costs that'll come from having the solar. And then also the other big part of the question is the increase in parking revenue from having the covered parking. So as far as the timeline on the loan, they're not holding the application for us, so the urgency is more that it's kind of a next in line. So the risk is if we do not decide to go through this path, so whereas it can be resubmitted under the city of Texarkana, Arkansas, then the alternative is essentially getting a conventional loan at a higher rate. As far as when the loan will fund, assuming we get through, get it submitted, it still will be a process, so it'll likely be a few months to get everything done and the ability to finish out payment. But by the time the loan begins to repay, the system should be operational and helping to reduce that cost and increasing the parking revenue.
There's some,
Just, Paul, this is a 15-year loan, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the solar panels have a 20-year warranty.
That's correct.
Okay. So now, like you were talking about hailstorm, stuff like that, is that warranty covered, or is that something that we're responsible for?
So the panels themselves are covered by the manufacturer of the panel. The work that is done by Integrity, that I think is only like 1 year in essence.
I will say that this is where the insurance, if it was something like damage from a hailstorm, that's where the insurance would come in, similar to a roof or something. The manufacturer's warranty will cover the material, not the labor, for that 20-year period, essentially against, malfunctions, or even if they just don't produce as much power as they're rated for. And then what Paul references, the standard workmanship warranty from the contractor for any issues that would come up in the first year.
your hail damage will be covered by your insurance.
Director
Your
Harris.
deductibles and all that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Director Harris has
Oh.
a comment.
Yes, I'm just trying, now, Mayor, did I hear right that you said that you was gonna agree for passing this? That you,
I am going to vote.
okay. But my problem I have with this is the process that I noticed that you got a board behind, and the reason why we put that board in place, keep it moving, go through, I'm gonna say, use the word crap like this, because basically, that's what the city is going through. You know, we ain't got all that kind of money, but like me, more stuff should have been done prior to us getting to this process from what I'm gathering. And then you talking about a $1.2 million deficit, you know, and most government bodies do. I thought maybe there was some law that forbid government body to pass deficit. If not, there need to be one, but why should the city and the taxpayers agree to pass a deficit? You know, just because we not, I'm gonna say this, we not giving the respect, this board is not giving the respect and the due diligence in the process while y'all making decision over there at the airport.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, I will note that where the board did not catch this, that I say ultimately falls to my responsibility. And so, you know, we understand that there, in the process, we understand that a mistake was made. The board is making sure that this does not occur again. But this is really based off of the way it was presented to them by myself. And so I say that the ultimate responsibility falls to me.
Well, let me ask, did the board reprimand you in any way?
I will say that I did bring this to the board's attention at the last board meeting and allowed them to speak in
Yeah, that's
executive
a matter
session.
of personnel.
Yeah, well, it might be a matter of personnel, but
Paul, just talk to me about this too, because I was just kind of getting a better understanding, because, you know, we're, in reality, we take the heat.
that's right.
In reality, you know, we're responsible for the airport. The Texas side is responsible for the airport. One of the things that, you know, came to my mind, actually, I thought about this the day that we came to the ribbon cutting, and that is, why did we rush this? What were the reasons that we were in such a big hurry to get this open with, one, the parking gates not being up, two, the landscaping is not complete? I mean, there's a number of things out there that weren't complete. What was the reason? What was the business reasons? What was the airport reasons? Maybe the authorities' reasons? Why did we rush the opening without mainly one of our biggest sources of revenue, the gates and stuff, not being ready?
The building itself was going to be completed at the end of June and turned over to the airport. At that point, the insurance and all utility costs were now going to be on the airport moving forward. And so where it was a substantial cost to operate both that terminal and the other terminal, I moved to try to make sure that we could move over to the new terminal so we could shut down at least one of them and reduce the cost of utilities, water, natural gas, and get people over there.
But did you know that the gates and the parking was not going to be available?
So we were told that the parking gates were going to be available in that early July, but the hurricane that became a tropical storm, when it moved through, a lot of the SWEPCO group moved down to Houston area. And as part of that, then they were unable to install our electrical for the parking lot. The company that was putting in the parking gates would not put that in until electricity was on.
And where are we
So,
at on that?
It is now active. We've had it running for the last week.
I'd like to speak, Mayor.
Okay.
So, one thing that I will say is I don't like people spending money in my checkbook I don't know about. I don't like people obligating the city to debt that we don't know about. And so we have a process, as the mayor said, that's in place. We've got board that we appoint to oversee this, that this should have been caught. You can stand up here all day and say you made a mistake, but here's the thing, Director Harris, we got to do it because it's already built. So there are several things that have happened here that somebody could have picked up the phone and called a board member and said, do you know this is happening? You guys that are on this board, think long and hard about what your job is. We don't do things in the dark around here. Paul, I've said it and I'll say it again. The spending at the airport has been out of control. I am not against the airport, but I sit up here and I'm responsible for taxpayers' dollars, and you are in a $1.2 million deficit, and you think that you can go out and obligate us to $2.2 million because you think you're going to get a loan? You don't do things that way. None of this should have happened. So what are the repercussions behind it? Oh, well, we're going to do better next time. No, there's got to be repercussions to this whole process. If I did something like that and I was on this board, I'd resign. And I can guarantee you that I would take action against this, because when you have to look the citizens in the face, I have phone calls all week of people going, what is going on with this? 1.2 million, where's this money coming from? You know where it's coming from? It's coming from the money that we need to spend to take care of the city, the streets, all of the infrastructure we have. And I'm glad that we got a nice airport, I am. And I used to fly that airport a lot, but I'm going to tell you, this is not a minor thing, in my opinion. This is a major thing. When you put me on the hook for half of that, $2.2 million, you go ahead and build it. Don't tell anybody on the board it's happening, and then you come in here and say, well, it was my mistake and I own it. You sure do, sir. So I don't know what you're going to do to get yourself out of this, but I can tell you right now, I am disappointed. And as a citizen, we should all be disappointed, because this is not the way we have these processes set up. To me, what you did this tonight is you came in here and you just said you're going to do whatever you want to do. Because you did. Can't say you didn't. You did. You did whatever you wanted to do. And for whatever reason, the board agreed with it. But I don't agree with it. And I'm telling you that what a disappointment all this is.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'll tone it down a little bit, but I want to question some of the assumptions. First off, the 55 vehicles a day. That's a little too optimistic in my view. I believe you and I talked as to where that number came from. And my understanding is it just came out of there. There's no historical evidence to indicate that there's 55 people going to park there every day. That was used just to justify an amount to offset the cost, to indicate a revenue stream of such amount. I've gone by out there the last few days, and there's 15, 16 vehicles parked under those two arrays that provide shade. So, and of course, we're all disappointed. This board is all disappointed that the first thing the airport board does is to reduce the charge from $13 down to $12, reducing that revenue stream, as the mayor pointed out, by 33%. That made absolutely no sense, which changed the data given us right there. There's many things I wanted to say, but I think it's already been said by other members of this board. We're all very disappointed in what the people that we appointed to oversee your action, and those documents exist that give you the authority to operate, the board the authority to operate. And as several members have indicated, the airport board, the director, need to review that one paragraph, that one section that tells y'all where y'all authority is limited as to what you can spend, those limits. So it does take about a minute to read that. And I would suggest you do that the next time you decide to spend any kind of funds. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Paul, I think you've heard all of our concerns. Moving forward, we do like to have foresight. And so instead of, I think it's already been mentioned that if we can have that in the regular, so we can take a look and know, as we discuss continuous accounting, discrete accountings, and so as we measure our operational liabilities and our operational assets and all that, and so it's imperative that we know the numbers, in our sleep. And so, if you will, just moving forward, let's get it on the regular so we can discuss those different methods.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
Just a couple of things to clean this up. One, Paul, I appreciate you and living up to what got us in here. I know that we've all probably learned from our mistakes in the past. I think that we all have an obligation with the airport authority, with this board, with the Texas Airport Authority, with the Texas Council and the Texas Mayor, is we got to go make this thing work.
Right.
We don't have any choice now but to go make it work. We got to make sure that we're pinching pennies, that we get every penny we can out of these solar panels, that we get this 2025 budget we're fixing to take up next. I see it being more than that, but that's just me. I work with budgets every day, but we got to keep and try to stay on budget. But we all need a refresher. We need a refresher in what your responsibilities are. We need a refresher in what the airport authority responsibilities are. It starts with the airport ordinance that we wrote and passed in 2021 that gave this board authority to run the airport through the authority and through you. And it takes everybody knowing what their boundaries are. And I trust that we can do that going forward. So two things that we need to do that I think we need to do, we need to clear probably with David, would be one, we need to get Josh to talk with Jeff and get this insurance question outlined as to whether we're double covered and if we need that type of liability or not. And the second thing is to make sure in that agreement that we're both covered as listed as insured, and make sure that they agree with that. And then I'm assuming this could come back. Josh, we really need to approve this thing tonight. We might can approve it with those two understandings because we can't keep waiting. We're going to lose the ability to get this 0.04%. And we don't need to do that. We have to go commercially and borrow this money. It's going to be 8%. So we figure out a way that we can answer. That's the only two concerns I have right now in that agreement would be to make sure that we're listed as an insured. And then if we need double coverage is what Director Jewell has asked. Is there anybody else that have any exceptions to this without voting on that tonight?
May I?
Yes.
I would just want to know, you get the attorney the time to look at this, then have a special call meeting. And I guess since we all the time up here have to be in the dark and wait, have a call meeting next week or sometime this week and let the airport sit and wait and let them store over what we got to vote for.
What I just thought about would be, it might be better to go ahead and run these documents with our suggested changes and let this go through the Texas side and see if they have any issues.
Yeah.
And then if they have some issues, we can fix both of them and either have a special call meeting. It might be even closer to our next meeting on the 19th. We could pass it all then.
Yep.
If we want, if we want to do that. So,
I agree.
what do you think about that,
Was-
Tom?
I think that'd be fine.
Do you think that's enough time to, if we waited till August the 19th, if the Texas side passes this with our two changes? I mean, if we don't need the double insurance, I don't think anybody up here wants to pay for it. But if we need to be listed as an additional insured, everybody up here should want us added so we can make those changes. And if they were to pass it, we would just table this part tonight. And if they were to pass that, we could pass it on the 19th. Will that jeopardize our funding?
I think the important thing is you guys feel comfortable, you all feel comfortable with what's being approved to. So with the,
That's a strong word, but I'll let you use it.
so once this is executed and everyone's on board, the application for the loan will need to be resubmitted under City of Texarkana, Arkansas to the State Energy Office. So that's a piece where essentially right now we don't know. It's like I said, they're not holding it. We don't have a deadline. It's kind of sooner is better. But again, I don't think that 2 weeks is, I don't want to make it sound like we have a hard deadline. I think as soon as everyone's comfortable is the right time.
Then I would entertain a motion to table.
Second.
Motion to table?
I would entertain a motion to table. So motion to table by Holly Bush, second by Jeff. So we have a motion to table item number 4. Is there any other discussion?
Well, I do have a question.
Yes.
The changes that we're wanting to put in, will that be given to the Texas side?
Yes.
to look? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll discuss all that with David tomorrow.
Any other discussion? So a motion and a second to table item number 4. Any other discussion? Could you call a roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. Moving on to item number 5 is adopt a resolution to adopt the FY25 airport budget. Paul?
I don't think it's working. Oh, there you go.
Okay. The expected 2025 budget, expected revenues are $1,465,121. Expected expenses, $2,717,391, with an expected net deficit of $1,252,270. That would mean that Texas would have $691,128. Arkansas would have $561,142. I'll cover the capital at the next one. We are having to pay for the new elevators, escalators, jet bridges, the large HVAC, the other utilities other than electricity with water, gas, the debt service, which has been discussed with the previous item. We do currently have 2 employees who are in their late 70s. As they retire out, we will look at potentially a janitorial contract for the terminal itself, and then all of the landscaping that has been put in. We spoke with a local company to get an estimate of what that would cost, and that is where then they estimated it would be about $80,000 a year to maintain all of the landscaping. We will have our airfield compliance maintenance, and then we have an access control security system. We are marketing the new terminal. We're working with the A&P Commission on that. We do have in the capital some matching things. I'll go over all of those as part of the capital.
Can I ask you a quick question too? That
Yes, sir.
So this morning, when it was announced that you received 2 additional grants that basically were going towards parking lots or whatever, where did they come from, and do we get those every year, and what are you using that money for?
Yeah, let me quickly. So the Arkansas Division of Aeronautics provides 3 grants every year that we can go for. During the construction of the terminal, we used COVID funds as the matching funds and used some of those funds. That's why we had $500,000. We used one of the 50/50 and one of the 80/20 grants towards the parking lots. We build into, it's now in the capital side, a match to those grants, so that way we can get access to essentially $997,222. Over the next 3 years, we'll be using 2 of those grants annually towards the site development for maintenance, repair, overhaul, making sure that if there's any environmental issues, running utilities, access roads, and then we will have one that we use for maintenance of the airfield. So this last year, we used it for a crack sealing project that did one of our main taxiways.
So do we pay the match when we use the grant?
Yes, so the way that the Arkansas grants work is that you upfront the cost and then they reimburse the state's amount.
But what I'm saying is you have to obligate the $300,000 on the 80/20. We have to do the 75 match to get the 3.
That is correct.
Do we have that included in the capital budget?
Yes, sir.
So that's part of our match, which I'm assuming on that particular line item would be 32,250 or 3250?
Yes, so that's where we do have a few items that are capital items. So in there, the capital expense total is $647,222. Texas then would do $357,202. Arkansas would do $290,020. That includes then the debt service for the solar, the matches for these grants, and then we have some pieces of equipment. a John Deere tractor and a maintenance truck. We are working with the Texarkana, Texas side, as they are retiring out some of their vehicles, that we may be able to obtain vehicles to replace, in which case we won't have to do this cost.
How old is that Chevy 2500?
18 years.
How old is the John Deere tractor?
I believe that one is over 20 years old. The average age of our equipment is 18 years old. And so that's where we've now been in discussions with the city that they do also use tractors and trucks, but they have a retirement schedule of approximately 5 years. And we wanted to get onto that, so as they retire equipment, we can start replacing our equipment instead of having to go out and buy new.
Why couldn't you done that 3 years ago, Paul? 4 or 5 years ago, when they were that old almost then. We are in a bad situation with a $1.2 million deficit. Is there anything else in this budget that you think we can count? I know in looking at it, a 3% increase for the employees. I'm all for giving a 3% increase. I'm all in favor of giving increases to employees. But when you've got a $1.2 million deficit, everybody has to tighten the belt. And for you to be in a $1.2 million deficit and to propose a 3% raise for the employees, it's real money.
Yes, sir.
And we're paying that money. And this, I'll defer to the city manager, but I think you guys ought to go with whatever the rest of the city employees get if we give anything to the city employees. And I don't know, Tyler, will we be able to give the city employees any kind of raise this year?
It's too early to tell right now.
I would say we just go with whatever the whole city goes with. Because we got to cut. I was looking, I think you already cut at $70,000 in Christmas lights and a bunch of other stuff I saw.
Yes, sir.
What are we thinking, man? What are we thinking? I love having a beautiful airport, but I love to have a city that's in the green. And right now, we're bleeding money, man. And I just don't know if people get it.
We are in discussions with Tyler about opportunities where we may be able to decrease our law enforcement officers and also our air rescue firefighting costs through mutual aid agreements.
17 positions?
I have a total of 17 positions at the
17,
interim.
and 2 of them are not filled right now, right?
Currently, the position that's not filled is the real estate manager.
So I'm trying to understand, if you have a maintenance guy, and then you have a maintenance supervision guy, and is it his job to watch the maintenance guy? I was trying to understand what those 2 positions are, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, so oftentimes when we get one of the maintenance individuals, they've never been on an airport at all. And so the supervisor will work with them. Many of the jobs that we have around the airport are 2-person jobs. They will go out and they'll repair fences, clear trees,
So
move
one's got
things.
to be designated the supervisor.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I have a question. I guess it's in general, and Tyler, and I have a concern certainly about the airport and the salaries, but I have a huge concern with us when we start our budget process for our police department. Texas side is getting a raise, Miller County is getting a raise. Their starting salary is fixing to be almost what ours is.
Yeah.
And we used to have the highest starting salary in the state for our police department, and we're toward the bottom now. And in my opinion, that's unacceptable. And we have got to do something somewhere to keep our law enforcement intact and not just get their training and leave. We have got to start putting our law enforcement first.
Agreed.
That's just my food for thought on the budget.
I agree.
Any other comments from you for your budget?
Oh, go ahead.
We have been working on some compliance items that had kind of fallen to the wayside. For instance, we just went through our FAA cert inspection. They want us to redo the markings along the entire, like the sideline stripes for the primary runway. We're looking if there's some way that we can delay that, since we're about to do a project to overlay that runway. But when you talk about how many square feet of markings that is, those kind of projects come back as being $150,000. And so we are trying to get into compliance with the FAA because many of these things for several years were not done. So we're playing a lot of catch-up. Texarkana College is just waiting right now for the FAA to certify their program. They were going to start in August, but now it has been pushed just because the FAA hasn't come and certified the location, that it would begin in January. We do have the funds in place for the 500-foot extension. We're in the design portion of that right now. And we're working on getting the remaining funding so that way we can begin the process of doing the runway overlay and the maintenance repair overhaul facility. That will take to approximately 2027 to complete. And that is where this was just with an overall 3% increase over time. We had a discussion with Tyler and David Orr. Moving forward, we are going to freeze all of the line items, and they will not increase for inflation other than looking at employees increase. So you should see that increase taper off. It won't be as much.
Mayor, I thought we had something in place where Paul comes to us every quarter and goes over his financials. Have we been doing that?
I came with...
Did we say to do that?
That's in that ordinance I'm referencing.
Yes. So I did come in the last quarter, and I owe you the one for the mid-year.
Yeah.
All right, any other, Director
Yeah.
Harris?
I noticed that, I read somewhere that you had did away with the apartments that was near the airport. Why was they, or the housing near the airport, why did you, move those, talk about tearing those down? What the reason behind that?
So the housing that is on the airfield is the old military housing from the Air Force Base. During our master plan process, that was identified by our consultant as residential because these individuals have been living in them. The FAA came back and indicated that it is against grant assurances to have residential homes on a federally funded airport. They do not allow it because of safety issues and also compatibility for noise and pollution. And so they came back and initially asked us to end it immediately. We explained that we had budgeted through the rest of the year, and we also wanted to give these tenants, where many of them have been out there for over 20 years, the time necessary to find other housing. So all of the housing will end on December 31st.
I guess the key word you stated, resident, because I just noticed that at the DFW, there's a Hyatt hotel that's adjacent to the airport. And so I would ask what would be the difference in that, but you said resident, and I guess they overnight at the Hyatt hotel in DFW. And my other question, you don't see no way else that you can get this budget and cut it down another $500,000 or $500,000 deficit than the 1.2. Do you see anywhere you can do that? Or can this board, I guess I'll let you answer that question first.
That is one of the reasons why we brought up the discussion about our air rescue firefighting and law enforcement capabilities. Those together are approximately $400,000 of our budget.
But anyway, could you reduce before we vote on it? I guess that's the question what I need to be asking is, where can you see that you can reduce this down instead of 1.2 million? Because I still have a problem voting. I don't think I can recall any time that I have voted where there was a deficit budget that was presented to me. But my thing is, until we force your hand, I don't think you're gonna really do nothing. But I would rather force your hand and making you don't vote on this until you go through the motion and cut again.
I will note that as part of our budget process, we had both city managers and both financial directors as part of our committee. We also had 3 of the board members on there. We presented numbers and allowed them to come back with comments and cuts.
But that's not the question I asked. I'll say it again.
I don't see, until we can work out something, possibly the biggest cut that can come would be in the police and fire business that they're discussing now. Other than that, I don't see any cuts that he can make, substantial cuts that'll make a bit of difference. He can freeze the salaries. The salary increase is about $98,000 is what it is, I think, somewhere around there, to give them a 3% raise. We could not look at that until we figure out what we're going to give our own employees, if we wanted to kind of wait on that, but that's a drop in the bucket compared to.
Yeah, but you got to start somewhere. Was this budget put on the consent agenda for the board?
No, sir. The part that was on the consent agenda for our board meetings was, as I do the director's report, at the end of it, there are some line items that are just read by the financial director of what the month's revenues, deficits, and kind of cash on hand is. Because those financial reports are provided to the board members before, and it is in the director's report, it just wasn't being read, and that was part of the consent
Are
agenda.
there expenses that you incur that are put on a consent with the board
No, sir.
at no time
No, sir.
in the last year?
No, sir.
Well, I have a question. You know, your actual payroll for 2023, as you presented, was $667,000, some few cents. Your proposed 2025 budget, $914,000. That's $250,000. What percentage that is increase in 2 years, I don't know, but it's a substantial amount.
So are you looking at previous years? So in 2021, I believe, we worked with the two cities on doing a salary adjustment based off of a salary study that was done by the Texas side. Employees were given either an increase to the base of those amounts, and if they were in the bracket, they were given a 3% increase. So you may have seen a larger increase during that period of time.
From the 2023 to now, is that what you're saying?
No, that would have been in a previous year. The salaries that we've estimated in there are only a 3% increase.
Well, but what I'm asking, why such a large increase from 23 to 25?
So we, in
25% increase.
In '24, we did add a position as a security position. It's an airport operations officer that deals with all the airport security, but it wouldn't account for $250,000.
Well, that's what I was asking. Why from the actual amount from 2023, you listed as $677,000 to your budgeting request of $914,000?
I would have to take a
You've
look
added
at the line
positions
item.
in a couple of years too as well, because I'm sure with the size of the airport, you got to have more employees to run it, right? This is
Yes,
stuff
sir.
we talked about, knowing this was coming. But I'll let you answer, I'm sorry.
We did have a real estate position. It is budgeted for, but is not filled at this time.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting to. Are there any positions that you cannot fill to save money?
Yes, we can hold off, we can continue to hold off filling the real estate
Are there
position.
any positions that you're looking at that you anticipate not filling?
The other one, well, it would be kind of a wash. The other one would be potentially not refilling the terminal maintenance and instead moving to a janitorial contract, but we will have to bid that out to see basically what's going to be more cost-effective.
Now, I heard mentioned something about some Christmas tree deco, something 60,000, 20, I'm at loss. What was that? Some request you made for some kind of?
In the initial budget request,
Yes.
we identified if we were going to do any kind of Christmas decorating of the new terminal, an amount that was bid to us. That item was cut immediately.
How much was that?
That was, that was
62,000.
60,000, yeah.
Did you initially request that?
Yes, sir.
And that got cut?
Yes, sir.
By whom?
That was the budget committee.
Your budget committee?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, guys and girls. I think that's all the questions I have.
Any other questions for the 2025 budget? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
We can't wait if they can go through it again.
I mean, Paul, you don't see you're coming back and trying to make any additional cuts at this time, contrary to the police and the fire thing that you and the city managers are working on and all that, but at this time, you don't have anything you could cut off the budget tonight.
No, sir.
All right? There's your answer.
Are we amending this to follow what the city does with the raises?
And you can.
I would say that, I would think the least we could do is that.
Is that okay, Tyler? Is that okay, city attorney?
I'd say take the raises off, and then after we do
Yeah,
our budget,
we'll vote
then you can
them in
amend
as
your
a-
budget and bring it back to us with that amendment. I mean, we'll approve the budget or vote for the budget tonight. And then come back.
You would amend the budget and vote without any salary increases, which is about 100,000.
Josh, would that be?
I'd have to change the language, but I can do that, because the resolution as written states, the airport authority budget attached hereto and made a part hereof is hereby approved and accepted. And so that's the only budget that we have.
Well, we can make a motion for the amended. So basically what we're saying is they don't want to approve the budget right now with any salary increases included. We won't get into our budget process until November. I mean, he's working on the process now, but we won't be presented to the board till November for passage in December. And their suggestion is if we propose raises for our city employees, that the airport employees would fall in that category, which the last 3 years in a row, it's been 2.5.
Yes, sir.
All right? So we would entertain a motion to amend the budget to not include any salary increases at this time.
Motion to amend the budget without salaries at this time.
But I'm gonna ask a question.
Okay.
Increases.
Oh, what's the difference between that and the capital budget that's next? Capital.
The capital is your interest expense, your purchases,
Trucks, tractors.
yeah,
That's by itself.
yes. That's where the 1.2 comes in. This is 600, what was this deficit?
The
Right.
Arkansas side will have 561,142.
And then the other 600 comes in capital.
And the other is, capital.
Right. All right, any other questions? We have, Jeff, you have a motion to
Yes, sir, to amend
adopt
the
without
budget
salaries?
without the salaries pending.
Is there a second?
Second.
To have a motion and a second to approve of the 2025 airport budget without salary increases. Any other discussion? Could you call a roll?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. We put the cart before the horse, so we need to instruct the city attorney to read the resolution that we just passed.
Right.
So let him read the resolution for the record.
Be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the fiscal year 2025 Airport Authority budget amended to remove salary increases and attached hereto and made a part hereof is hereby approved and accepted, passed and approved this 5th day of August 2024.
All right. So,
Mayor?
Yes.
I wanted to point out one thing real quick. I think a number was thrown out there, that increase for the raises was around 100,000. That is, in '24, it was budgeted at 882. I think there may have been some confusion between the year-end estimate and the actual budgeted amount. So for all these positions, the budgeted amount last year was 882. It's going up to 914. So it's not the $100,000 cut.
Still follow what you guys.
I just wanted to make that clear.
All right. So the 2025 airport budget is approved without salary increases. All right. Moving on to the capital budget. Adopt a resolution to adopt the fiscal year 2025 capital budget. Paul? You have a slide for that.
So the cost would be the matching for the Arkansas grants, the John Deere tractor replacement, the Chevy truck replacement, We will attempt to get those vehicles through the city, depending what vehicles they have available. We are using one of the state grants for a service animal relief area in the terminal building. We are required to do so by the FAA's American Disability Act. And then next year, we will be going for a replacement of our large air rescue firefighting truck. The reason that we are doing that is the chemical that they use for it is called AFFF. It has a chemical known as PFAS, which is known to cause cancer and has been deemed as hazardous. We will be moving to the new chemical, which is called F3, and we have to have a truck that then has not been contaminated by that previous chemical. There will be no match locally for the fire truck. That will be covered by a federal grant and then a state match towards that. And that's all I have for that one.
Any questions for the capital budget? I would instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the fiscal year 2025 airport capital budget attached hereto and made a part hereof is hereby approved and accepted. Pass and approve this 5th day of August, 2024.
City attorneys read the resolution for the 2025 capital budget. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Harris,
No.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes, and the resolution passes and the capital budget passes. Moving into, thank you, Paul. Moving into board commentary. Anybody have anything they want to discuss with the board, the citizens? Anybody? Hearing and seeing none, our next meeting will be Monday, August the 19th. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
If I have a second, could you call the roll, please?
Harris,
Yes.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes, we're adjourned.
Voted.